Do you think people will have pets in the metaverse?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah?
Of course.
But
Absolutely.
Virtual pets.
Yeah, why not?
Do you really want to pet a pet digitally? You want to stroke a cat.
All right. I don't think the petting part of it really is going to. I mean, maybe.
Do you not think that's important? I think that's crucial.
To be able to pet your pet?
Yeah. If you can't cuddle your dog, do you even have a dog? Or do you just have the concept of a dog?
You can play with the pet without having to cuddle or physically pet it. Like, we were just playing tag.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I tried to, catch her. But
yes.
I didn't touch her.
Context here.
Because she's fast.
Matt was playing tag with his cat, Marley. Just for context. And it was very cute. Matt was running down the corridor and Marley would do down the corridor after him. And then Matt would turn around and scuttle backwards and Marley would run. And it was very cute. But I kind of wonder if that's just going to become obsolete in the metaverse.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It kind of makes me bearish on the metaverse.
Nah, dude. You'll have a pet in the metaverse too. I don't think it'll be at least not anytime soon. It won't be like as cuddly. Maybe at some point you'll be able to feel like you're actually cuddling your pet.
Are we going to end up buying just a small patch of fur? And then when we're all in VR, I literally have her fluff on my hand right now. When we're all in VR, in our cages in the future,
God,
we'll just reach out to our designated fur patch and just, good kitty,
that's
good boy.
That's the real conversation here. You are bearish, or you're bullish on, you said isolation, social anxiety.
I am long
virginity, mental illness.
Yep. I'm long virginity, long isolation.
Okay, he's long. He's not bullish on it. He's long.
I'm long.
That's right. Okay.
I'm long it. Well, I want to be long it.
You want to be long
I need
on
to
mental
find,
health problems. Please, you need to elaborate because people are going to be like, what are you saying?
Christ.
That sounds so bad.
I think that we are trending towards a world which is increasingly difficult for human minds to comfortably navigate. And I think as a result of that, people are going to struggle. People are already struggling right now. We've had a pandemic. It's been difficult. We're cruising towards World War III. It's going to get more difficult. I don't think that that's a scenario, a circumstance, a timeline that necessarily is going to be easy for people to get through. I think people are going to have a lot of issues with that. And so in combination with humans being increasingly online and people just overall realizing that, yeah, you can go out and socialize and meet a new person in the bar or like doing all those things. You can just jump in a Discord server. Why do you need to leave your house? The outside is cold or it's hot or it's raining or it's dry or like whatever. There's issues outside. At home, you're comfortable. You've got your designated patch of fur to stroke. You've got your comfy bed. You've got your snacks. You can order food in from the outside now. You don't need to go out ever, really. You can Instacart anything that you need. You don't need to go grocery shopping. You can do your classes online half the time. You can work from home most of the time now, or at least it's increasingly becoming possible. I wouldn't say most of the time, but increasingly so. People are working from home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm long isolation.
I can get behind it.
The question, though, is how do I actually materially go long isolation?
How do you actually invest in
what is the
your theory
isolation sector?
Metaverse. I mean, pretty much. That's where I was going with this. Eventually, I was like, so naturally you're long on all the technology that supports all of these behaviors, like social interaction from inside your house. Technology like Instacart that allows you to order groceries and necessities like food and water and whatever to not have to leave the house, so you don't have to go get them yourself. Those are the technologies that you'd be investing in. That's how you go long, I guess.
I think so.
And to a large degree, I think if the metaverse, like we're theorizing, comes to fruition and becomes the thing, I agree even more so that long isolation, long social lack of social ability, I guess in some degree long virginity, unless you consider.
Oh, it's up only.
Well, yeah.
It really is.
Unless you consider, well, this goes back to the petting the cat in the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same thing if you have sex in the metaverse? Is that losing your virginity? These are the deep hitting questions.
So we had designated fur patch.
No.
No?
I already know where you're going with
I mean,
So robots.
I think a lot of adults have been.
So if you have a real person in the metaverse that you connect with, and you have a relationship with them,
Yeah. You have
And you-
e-sex.
and you have you have virtual. I mean, the connection you have is real,
Yeah.
but you're not actually having
You're
sex.
physically in different places.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes.
Mm.
I'm here and someone else is somewhere else.
Mm.
And we're having sex virtually through our experience in the metaverse.
Mm.
But in physical reality, we're in our own separate places.
Sure.
Does that count?
As losing your virginity?
Yes.
That's a good question. Do you have an answer for it?
I don't. That's why I'm asking you.
I feel like it could be a yes and it could be a no. I feel like it could be a sex is about you could argue like the sex is about the physical act of da da da. But then you could also, I think, argue that if you feel like you have a sexual encounter with someone, then you've had a sexual encounter with them. Maybe
Right.
it's not virginity in the traditional sense, but I'm not sure that necessarily matters if you're not so interested in that.
Yeah, and I think that we're to correlate to the pet where you
Mm.
have a fluff ball, like just a furry thing.
Yeah.
That's not actually a pet, but in physical real life, you have this furry
Yeah.
lump loaf,
Yes.
if you will. You can pet, so you feel like you're petting your
The
metaverse
petting
pet.
patch.
The
Petting patch.
petting patch. There
Yes.
you go. The similar for sex would be.
I do wonder. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do, but
But is it?
In that
have you lost
case-
your virginity if you've had sex with a robot? Sure,
if,
I think
if it's yeah, but that's the thing. It's like if you're connecting with a real person on the other end, then I'm like,
no, but I think actually,
that's closer. That's closer, I think.
I think if you have sex with a robot, it's closer than you having e-sex where there's no physical anything going on. Surely.
I think if you have both, if it's
Oh,
physically you're having sex with a robot, but mentally you're in like,
oh, then you're in deep. You're like,
well, that's what I envision it being, right? If you're long virginity, like, does that
guess.
count as virginity? Because that's even if it's not mainstream, and I don't know if it will be. Someone out there is already doing that for sure.
You know what's going to be really wild is when everyone jumps on Twitter and they're like, the stupid algorithm changed and now my partner finishes before I do. Can I change it back to chronological? I want it chronological. Put it back. Jack Dorsey, put it back right.
Chronological.
Elon, what are you doing?
What do you mean? So like if you actually finish in person, then in virtual, like in the
There's gonna be algorithms that are gonna be dictating what's going on in that encounter. If we're getting it on and there's a robot in each of our spaces that is allowing us to experience the equivalent that each of us are missing out on because we're in different spaces, then it's a robot. And a robot's got to follow a protocol. That's kind of weird.
oh, it's weird. It's very weird.
That's kind of
This
weird.
whole conversation is like dived into a very weird subject very fast.
Yeah, we're not talking about the creator economy anymore, are we?
No,
We're creating something else here.
but for the protocol, I would imagine that they would try to emulate whatever's happening in the virtual space to
Right.
make it seem like you're actually there.
But then you've got the whole question of consent when a robot is involved.
oh, this gets deep. Like these are really like
We're entering a dark
ethical
place
questions.
here. Yeah.
For a very superficial act, I would say.
I don't know I don't know if rules are the right word here, but maybe what the rules are for if you're building software or some kind of something that's ultimately going to control a robot of some description, how consent fits in amongst any of that. Can you give consent to a program? And how do you withdraw consent from the and like all the nuances of it's such a human thing. How the hell?
It is such a human thing. Well, I guess it becomes more black and white then. If you're like agreeing to the terms of the robot usage, you're like you're giving consent to whoever you
But that's
engage
like
with.
that's like not a thing at all in a normal sexual
I
environment.
can only imagine like you check off the box to agree to consenting to you
Yeah.
know the program, and it's like I agree to Like it lists out each
Yeah.
individual act that you agree to or disagree.
But there would be like terms and conditions.
like
for
you go to
each
do it, it's like,
thing.
nope, we can't do that.
Yeah. You're like, baby, kiss my neck. And Robot's like, I am not allowed. I will not be doing that. I will only kiss the earlobe. Yeah.
Oh no. Dude, it's
weird. It's weird. It's weird to the
but I
point.
feel like it's actually not as far off as we might think it is.
Okay, that's really interesting because I was just about to say the opposite. It's weird to the point to me of being such an abstract thing that I think the world will struggle to onboard into that so much that it's going to push it back 20 extra years. Just like
I don't
Google
think it'll be
Glass.
mainstream anytime soon. But
No,
I
okay.
think the ability to do it and people doing it like actively is probably happening to some degree and will be like
Yeah.
a thing sooner or later.
I mean, I guess what does to some degree mean, right? Like if you're using a vibrator, it's not a person, right? If you're using
Yeah, but you're not interacting with it. Well, maybe you are.
no, you can do.
Yeah,
They're
if you're,
like,
like, on
if
Skype,
someone
if you're
else
on,
is
like,
controlling it,
Discord or and
that's the
That's
thing.
true. I mean, technically, then you just proved my point.
yeah,
It's already happening.
So I guess the bridge is being crossed. It's just
It's just more advanced. The way I imagine it's more like
yes.
it's more.
We're
like a
thinking
body,
sci-fi,
right? And there's
Yeah.
it's like a little. It's way more intricate than just.
but there are also people that I guess would prefer for there to not be a person involved, probably.
Sure.
Because that makes everything so complicated when there's a human. Then
Well,
it's
that's what I'm
that's
saying. Like,
why I'm long virginity.
what is
Like,
losing virginity? You
Yeah.
know, like I feel like at some point that will have a different meaning than it does now. Like
yeah.
if you use,
I think
a
even the
vibrator-
meaning now is changing.
maybe, but I think pretty objectively, if you use a vibrator, you didn't lose your virginity.
If someone else, if it's just like,
If you're using it yourself,
but if it's just oral, is that losing your virginity?
that. I feel like that's way more of a gray area.
Right,
Like, I
right.
can see both sides, and I've heard both sides.
But if it's oral from a robot,
Who knows? What do you think? What do you guys think?
let us know down below for some reason, I guess. We've just cursed our comment section for this one. If it has
This
a comment
is going to be a
section.
weird one.
Yeah.
If you can even make these comments without getting removed.
But this
And your
is a
whole-
problem, I think, just in terms of the metaverse in general. So I've just seen, I'm going to move us on here, Punk6529 on Twitter,
Mm.
great account to follow, tweeting about his new thing or their new thing. Don't want to gender it necessarily. I think they're male. I think it's a he. He has a new thing called OM, which is his open metaverse, which is like a gallery metaverse space. It's meant to support 100 million people. I think it's a smaller number of worlds, but he's built out this prototype. It's going into alpha later this year. It's going into beta, hopefully towards the end of the year or next year. And the idea is that it's his metaverse project, but he wants to decentralize it so that it's no longer sort of his thing.
Mhm.
And what he's built so far is a 6529 museum and gallery, right? And you look at this gallery, and it's also, I think, his words, not mine, and his thinking, not 100% confirmation. He thinks it is the largest collection of high-end, like blue chip digital art that's ever been displayed all in one place at a single time. Because it's all his stuff, and I'm sure there are other collectors involved as well that he's brought on board. They're displaying in the gallery of 6529. Very cool. But I look at the video that they put out, and it's the classic white walls. Have you ever played Super Hot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Super Hot's video game. It's very, very bare bones, minimalist, white walls everywhere, sort of very angular geometry, and just generally very plain looking. But it's all very geometric. It's got that kind of vibe to it. This gallery has the same sort of thing going on. It's massive, long corridors of nothing. Completely plain walls, and then a perfect corner, and you go around the corner and you're in a gallery room, and da-da-da, etc. And there might be a ringer on the wall. There might be a Fidenza. There might be a Bored Ape. There might be a Punk. There might be a this, that, the other, right? Azuki's now. All sorts of stuff. Lots of art blocks, because that was such a big thing earlier this year. And
Rest in peace.
last year now. Rest in peace. So he's built out this thing and is going to continue to build it and has got a Discord for it and all this stuff. And I'm very excited about 6529 just being a human being. I think that what they're doing is great. But I look at this trailer that they have and I sort of go, why would I ever want to spend any time here? Ever.
Agreed.
And he says in the thread, well, the test for a lot of these metaverse projects, and there are many out there already right now, right? The test is going to be whether you ever want to return to them. Because as humans, we're curious. We'll try something once. We'll give it a go. But if you jump in and you're like, that was mid as hell, you're going to bounce and you're not going to come back. And I feel like a lot of people are going to jump into 6529's gallery world space and they'll be like, that was cool. I'm never coming back. And granted, it's early and I'm not pooping on the project here. I'm just saying I still haven't been metaverse pilled enough to look at that and be like, yes, this leads to the future.
I gotta agree. But I feel like that's when I think of metaverse landscapes you can actually go into. I feel like that's all of them right now.
They all suck.
It's a museum. And personally, I'm not a museum person. I literally do not care.
I am a museum person, still not interested.
Okay, well then there you go. You got both sides of the spectrum and neither of us care. So there's, I would say, at least from our small sample size, not looking good so far.
There's something
It's just like, why do I care about his art? And why do I care enough to spend my time walking around in a gallery of his art?
Okay. Let's pause there because what you just said, why do I care about his art and why do I care enough to spend time walking around in a gallery of his art? Both those things apply to the real world. None of that was tied to the metaverse. It was his art and a gallery of his art. In the real world, I 100% care about doing those things. 100%. I love going into a gallery and just seeing these great pieces from many years ago or from more recently and being able to see the flakes of paint on the canvas or to just see the physical thing, to walk around it, to experience it, to drink it in, to get a sense of the scale in person and what it looks like when the light reflects off it and just being there with it. There is something special about that, I think. And in VR, which a lot of these things are tending towards right now, it just doesn't feel that great. You feel like you're looking at the pixels the whole time. And you feel like you're, I don't know, in some kind of very, very uninteresting piece of software, a game or something, as opposed to living in an experience that feels really visceral and real and gives you a new appreciation for that art or something like that. Like I love going to a gallery and seeing the physical material of the art.
Right.
It's such a big thing for me. And I'll go up close to it and I'll go to the side so I can see a different angle and see how that is really, really awe-inspiring for me. It makes it feel, the art feels so much more humanized, I think, as well, because you see this is actually something that someone made.
Right.
Whereas so far with a lot of these metaverses, I'll walk in and I'm like, well, yeah, it's an image. I already saw that on my screen when I was not in VR. What's the value add here?
Yeah.
That I can walk around, except I can't walk. I can just teleport.
So I have a question for you. How often do you go back in real life? How often do you go back to the same museums to see the same pieces?
Maybe to see the same pieces. Well, that's a difficult one because I would say the collections rotate and things like that. I probably would say there's so for example, my favorite museum in London, certainly right now at least, is the V&A. Actually, let me give you a better example. There's a museum of zoology in London. It's a very small museum. And my granddad actually was a zoologist as it happened in his career. Okay. And so I guess I have some bias towards it for that. But I used to go back there semi-regularly. I would say every, let's say 2 months.
Oh, okay.
And so pretty regularly, they would have events on where they would show like classic films. So you would go, you'd be in the museum, you'd be doing another thing, another activity that would bring you back to the space. But then also, every time I'd walk around the museum, it's very small. It would take 15 minutes, but I would have a wander. I'd look at the stuff. And this is not art. This is a dead rat in a jar. But I would go and have a look. And then I would go and I'd be on my way for 2 months and I would come back.
I think, unfortunately, to your advantage on this part of the debate here, I would also prefer to see that. Like, I care way more about animals than art.
Okay.
So in this scenario, I could see why you would go back. Like, yeah, I would want to go back and see if there's even like one new animal.
Yeah. So this is not a gallery. I could see myself
going back and be like, okay, I want to see the dead rat in the jar.
Yeah.
Because I love animals, but art, very different for me. That's why I'm asking, how often do you go back? Because you started the conversation with,
I'll give you another example.
The value here is how often you go back, right? That's
yes.
what Punk 6529 said.
Yes.
So my question is, whether it's in real life or not, is there a reason to go back and see the same piece of art twice if you've already really inspected it and got
Okay,
what you can get out of it?
On my way to university, I went to university in the University of Bristol. On my way into university, I used to walk up the Christmas steps, which are this really lovely little kind of tiny alleyway. It feels very Harry Potter, right? Just imagine that. You go up the Christmas steps, I would go across the road, and there's an art shop. And the art shop was on the corner of an alleyway, which was more stairs. Basically, I had to go up this massive hill to get to the very top of the university campus, which is where the physics building is. It's on the very top of the hill. So just before I would go into this alleyway and continue going up these steps, there would be this art shop on the corner. And every morning, without fail, every single morning, I would walk up to that art shop, I would stand outside the window, and I would spend maybe 90 seconds just looking at this one piece of art that was out there for months. It was a tree, okay? Beautiful, beautiful tree, pretty large piece of art, like that kind of size, right? Across square. And it was this autumnal, very, very sort of orangey, browny, lit up by the sun, beautiful piece. Don't know its name, don't know the author, don't know if someone's bought it by now. But I used to go and just stand in front of this window and look like a toddler looking into a sweet shop at this tree. And I would just, every time I'd be like, damn, that speaks to me. I don't know why. I have no way of describing the fundamental, strange, primal feeling I had in me every time I looked at that tree. But there was something in me that just as an animal of this planet looked at it and went, I'm enjoying this moment right now. I was standing in front of a square. Why would I care? Where is the logic there? I can't rationalize it.
I can give you that.
But I would go back and I would take my time every time on that corner because it just did something for me. And so I think in a situation like that, I wasn't just going, yeah, I like the art. I was standing there and I was again and again and again admiring the way that the paint had been applied to the canvas. I was admiring the little cracks in it where the paint had kind of chipped a little bit. Like all those things were important to me. And so far, haven't had that experience at all, I don't think, with digital metaverses or anything like that.
Do you think it's more like because of the experience? Because the way you describe that, you explained the crap out of those stairs.
Yeah.
You put me in the scene.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing to do with the painting.
No, I think it was important.
It was everything to do about with where you're at and what the feeling was that you got from the painting, right?
Yeah.
So to some degree it is, I guess. But it sounds like it's more about the experience and the moment and then, you know, what that art provides in that moment, the feeling.
I think that's fair.
So in that way, like if the metaverse stuff doesn't provide a like nostalgic or warm or like strong feeling for you, then the art's probably not going to do anything.
That's very true.
Because what I was thinking at that whole time was you were describing to me what I feel about certain places in the world that have a really special meaning to me. And I just love being there. Like I could literally sit there for an hour and do nothing, but the feeling I get being at certain places in you know, back home or wherever, even like in like Botswana, Africa, I felt like this.
Okay.
I was like, there was moments where I was like, nothing else matters. This is like the coolest spot. I'm literally sitting here looking at stars and like, I could sit here for hours. You're just so content and so filled for whatever reason.
It's like a numinous experience. It's a fun word. Where you just are feeling awe-inspired by being alive and the world and universe around you.
Yep.
It's special. It really is. And the metaverse is so far from ever providing a special experience right now. And that's not to say that I don't think it can get there. I think humans are pretty inventive and it most likely will. But right now, what is there to find special about your sheet white walls and your sterile spaces and everything feeling like it's been 3D printed and placed in front? It's like...
So did you go in there with VR, like a VR headset?
I have once, yeah.
See, I've actually never gone. I've never been like... The closest I've done to anything metaverse related was 3 years ago. We played VR chat.
Yeah.
And I played Super Hot and other Oculus type games like Beat Saber, which are fun, but to me, those were just games. Like those are more experiential than walking into a Punk 6529 museum and looking at the wall and seeing his millions of dollars worth of digital art. So I think the point I would make is that it's more about the experience and less about the art. But then again, I also don't appreciate art the way you do. So it's hard to know. Like I think it's case by case basis maybe.
Well, what's interesting as well about that is that we're saying the experience of going to see it is crucial.
To some degree, I would say, yeah.
I would argue that if I took that painting from that art shop and put it in my house, I think I would still love it. I think I would still stop in the corridor and be making my morning coffee and be waiting for the water to boil and to be pacing up and down the corridor, and the floorboards are creaking a little bit and the sun's just about coming out, but it's cloudy in the UK. And I would stop and I would look at my painting. I'm pretty confident I would do that.
Yeah.
And then it could be in a completely different space. And I feel like it would cause me to pause because the art is special. And so it's not, I don't want to reduce the art to only being a vector in a larger continuum of things going on around me, of stimulus or stimuli, right? I wouldn't want to do that. But then I would argue moving into the metaverse would reduce. There's something that is right now, maybe the way to frame it then is it's not that the experiences in the current world are so special, that my corridor with the creaky floorboards is so special, that the corner next to the alleyway where the art shop is so, it's not about them all being special. It's about the metaverse not being at the baseline that the rest of the world is at, where I can jump into something and feel like I'm having a human experience in that space. Yeah. I jump in right now and I feel like I'm in a crap video game.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
For the majority of people, the technology is there. And even then, I would say most people aren't even using VR headsets yet still. No. And it's been years that everyone's like, VR's the next thing. VR's the next thing. It's never become the next thing.
Yeah. It's kind of plateaued, I feel like.
Absolutely. In fact, I would say, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I would say aside from Facebook pumping it like crazy, like I'd say it's on the decline of people that actually care about and use it.
Yeah. And AR is becoming more promising, I think, slowly, but still has a huge way to go.
I think AR is, until you don't have to hold up a phone or physically like put yourself in that environment.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not going to catch.
Well, is there not a rumor that Apple are making some kind of AR headset? I feel like I've seen that somewhere. Maybe I need to do some more. I need to DIY.
Someone's going to do it eventually. I mean, Facebook's definitely working on stuff like that. Well, they're full on in on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listened to a Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg podcast.
Okay.
It was actually phenomenal. And I don't really care for Zuckerberg, but this podcast, I've never seen him like this.
Okay.
He wasn't robotic. He was human.
He was fired up.
He likes Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
He was talking about all the stuff they're doing, and is like, they're all in on this. Like this is the, I mean, they changed their name to Meta, right? So like they are fully all in on it. It was actually, for me, exciting. I was like, these guys, he really believes in the next like 5-10 years, like having the contact site type thing we were talking about. So let's give you some context.
Yes,
here.
context there.
We were talking the other night about this a little bit, and I said that, with the AR, you have to hold up your phone to kind of put yourself in that environment to see things within the real world. I think it won't become mainstream or widely adopted until it's seamless enough where it's as easy as putting on, I mean, glasses is even too much, I would say right now, but it has to be like this, like normal type glasses where I put it on, and now if I want to toggle on AR, boom, I can see whatever I want here. I could have my virtual cat running around. I can pet her, even though I can't feel her. I can pet her.
Yep.
That kind of thing. Then maybe even getting it to the point where it's like contacts you put on your eyes, or maybe it's some kind of, and this is really, really throwing it out there, but putting some kind of chip in you that I don't know how that would work. It's not my area. But the point is, like, they're that's where they're going with this. How soon that happens, fully up for debate. But they're all in on it. Like, he firmly believes this is the way things are going to go, and that's what they're building.
It's interesting because if you think about the last 10 years of the internet, so it's 2022 now, go back to 2012.
Coney 2012.
Coney 2012.
That's all I think of.
Think back to that year and how you were interacting with the internet and the way things worked back then. 10 years in the future, things have progressed. We have faster internet now. We're spending more time on Twitter. There's a lot more people buying NFTs, but have we developed robots that jerk us off? No.
I mean, maybe.
Well, not that I've seen, at least.
You haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's sci-fi has, over the years,
10 years ago,
made insane projections about things and said, in 10 years, we'll get there. Flying cars, whatever, right?
Did they really say that? Flying cars in 10 years? Come on.
Yeah.
The one I want to bring up to you is Tesla, because I've had arguments about this with multiple people, including my brother, my dad, colleagues, people from fraternity. 10 years ago, Tesla was like, I'm not even sure it was around. I don't even know what year it was. It was either 2013, 14, maybe.
Okay.
And even 5 years ago, I was like, self-driving cars, fully electric cars are going to be like a real thing, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised that in 15 or 10, 15 years from 5 years ago, everyone will mostly everyone will have cars that can drive themselves fully.
Yeah.
And there was like, they disagree with me fully. They're like, you're out of your mind. There's no way that's happening in 5 years, like maybe in 30 years. I'm like, no, dude, like, why is it that hard to believe? Like technology, it moves it's constantly moving faster, right? It's exponentially moving faster. You ever heard of you ever heard of singularity?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you stand on that?
Let's talk about that in another episode, because we're we'll that's crazy.
We need more time.
We need more time.
We just need more time.
We do need more time. We'll talk about the singularity in another episode.
Fair enough.
I hear what you're saying. Personally, I think that self-driving cars is a more achievable thing than every human on the planet suddenly having an AR interface through which they can interact with the internet, which will completely transform the way that everyone interacts online.
But
that's a big moment.
There's a huge difference there, though. I didn't say every person has a self-driving car or every person's got an EV necessarily. Like that obviously is going to take a lot of time for people to fully move over.
Okay, 1 million people.
Sure.
With an AR interface. That to me is...
what's the interface like? Glasses?
It's glasses with projection in your eye, and it's socially acceptable. It
projects into your eye, or it's like you see...
it projects into your eye.
Okay.
Let's say that.
I think that's a ways out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's not 5 years. Mark Zuckerberg might hope it is.
I think within 5 to 7, yeah.
I'm saying 10 plus.
From now. I mean from now.
Yeah,
not from 5 years ago.
I'm saying from now, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out. It's going to take a while. 5 years is a long time.
Yeah, but 5 years ago, AR was in the same place it's in now.
Sure.
Or at least it feels like it from the consumer end.
But 5 years ago, Facebook was Facebook, and they were focusing on advertising and making money.
Yeah, but 6 months ago, Facebook was Facebook, and they were thinking about that.
But were they? That's what we think. But were they actually though?
He saw the ETH pump to 4K. He was like, maybe I need to change course here, dude. Do you reckon he bought the top?
Meta?
Do you reckon Mark Zuckerberg bought the top of ETH?
I don't know. Does it matter? The guy's loaded.
Yeah, but
he could buy the top and sell the bottom and still be loaded.
It would be a nice thought to have thought about the fact that I was dumping on Mark Zuckerberg.
That'd be nice. That's a good feeling when you dump on a whale like that.
Not just any whale.
You dump your bags on one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah, that would feel pretty good.
If there's anything I feel like over the last 5-10 years, people like Musk have proven that I think things are achievable quicker than we thought.
That's fair. That's fair.
There is definitely going to be some point of like you said, I think in another episode, like the physics of it. At some point, you can only make a chip so small.
I think that might have been not in another episode. I think that was actually in another conversation we had offline, where essentially I was saying there are physical limitations to what we can do. There are limitations right now that are things we can get around, or we can find new technologies to improve things, but we will never have faster than light communication. And faster than light communication is what we would need in order to play a game of League of Legends with my buddy on Mars without too much ping. Like those sorts of things, sadly, are just limits that we're going to bash our faces up against, despite the fact that just recently they've found a new particle that seems to sort of upset everyone's current understanding of the standard model of physics, which is quite interesting. I need to read more into it, but there's a new boson that people have found that's like, oh, that shouldn't be like that. So that's good. Maybe we'll end up finding out we can go faster than light, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm a physics major. I'm doubtful. It's too fundamental.
He's bearish.
I'm short faster than light travel. I am long virginity.
I mean, there you go. If that's not intriguing, I don't know what is.
See you in the next episode.